community, dear friends, dear colleagues, dear coaches, players, classifiers, referees, players all over the world. I would like to welcome you to our second online session of the Austrian Power Chair Football Club Talk. Well, for those who don't know me, I'm Nordin Sabovic. I'm the Austrian Power Chair Football head referee. Unfortunately, at this time, the only EPFA certified, but I'm very optimistic that this is going to change in the future. Today, as last week, for those who don't know, we're going to have a small chat with some colleagues from around the world. We have Tony Jackson from the United States. He is representing the club Phoenix Rising. Then we're going to have Markus Fritsch and Christoph Esselsdorfer from Austria, from Linz. And it was planned that we're going to have some colleagues from Germany, but unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, they were not able to participate this time. But we're going to do it probably, I hope, next time, next Friday, or maybe the Friday after that. The today's schedule is that every club is going to have like 15, 20, maybe a little bit more minutes to present themselves, to present their clubs, what they do. We're going to have a small discussion. Please feel free to ask questions in the Facebook blog. I'm going to ask them to them personally, if possible, if we have the time. But due to the fact that the Germans will not participate today, we're going to have enough time for a small discussion. I'm going to try my best to make it as what am I looking for, as not just a presentation where one speaks. So I'm going to ask questions, you're going to ask questions, and we're going to make it as fun as possible. Well, today's schedule, as I said, we're going to start with my colleagues from Austria, especially they are from the region of Upper Austria called Linz. The Power Chair Football Club is called Steel Chair Linz, and the representatives for today are Markus Fritsch, which is a player and also the department leader of Power Chair Football in Linz, and we're going to have Christoph Esselsdorfer, who is the club president of RSC Heindel and also the vice president of the Upper Austrian Disabled Association. As I said, please feel free to comment anything, to ask questions, and we're going to start with Christoph.
Okay. Thank you for the invitation. I'm going to give you a brief overview about our sports club. It's a club, RSC stands for Rollstuhl Sport Club, which means Wheelchair Sports Club. It's a sports club, as the name says, for persons in wheelchairs with about 125 members with many different sports. So power soccer is just one of them, and it's a rather new sport. The club was founded in 1988, and I was one of the members then. I'm in the chair by myself, and I'm a former athlete for track and field then, and also for hand cycling. And there was a shift in sports over the years. So when we started with the club in 1988, the main sports were athletics, basketball, table tennis, some tennis. And over the years, there came in some new sports, and there was a shift in sports from, well, almost nobody's athletics doing anymore in our club. But there's hand cycling, a very strong division, a very strong division. Then there's basketball, wheelchair rugby, power soccer, of course, and also other sports like dancing or yoga. So we offer sports for competitions, for people who want to compete against others, but we also offer sports for recreation, for just staying fit. And you know, all of us, if you have a disability, then it's very important to stay fit, because then you can then you can compensate some things, some parts of the disability. Well, that's the overview, and I'm going to hand over to Markus, or first to Nordin.
Yeah, well, thank you, Christoph. At this point, I hope everybody enjoyed it. You can surely watch us on Facebook. You can surely stay in this meeting. So as you please. I'm gonna just translate it in a few words to our German-speaking community. Uh, Liebe Damen und Herren, liebe Spielerinnen und Spieler, ihr kennt wahrscheinlich den Herrn Christoph, den Herrn Etzelsdorfer. Ganz kurz, ihr kennt euch wahrscheinlich aus. Er hat einfach nur ganz kurz den RSC Heindl Oberösterreich, ich meine, ja, präsentiert, sagen wir mal, 1988 begonnen. Er hat beschrieben, dass es einen kleinen Umschwung, nenne ich ihn mal, im Sport gegeben hat, dass man angefangen hat eben mit Athletik, mit Basketball und Tischtennis und heutzutage Handcycling. Wie kann ich das übersetzen, Christoph?
Handbike.
Ja,
Handbike,
also Handbike, Basketball, Rugby, Power Soccer gibt es immer noch. Ich habe Tanzen gehört, gibt es auch noch.
genau.
Ja,
Yoga.
und Yoga finde ich super cool. Es gibt Wettbewerbe, es gibt eben diesen Bewegungssport, der organisiert ist. An dich vielleicht, Christoph, du hast gesagt, du warst früher Spieler. Christoph, you don't play at this time, but you were a player. What sports did you play?
Well, I started with athletics, track and field many years ago. I did my first competition in 1982.
Mhm.
And then I did for 20 years athletics and later switched to hand cycling and also played some wheelchair rugby just for fun, just recreationally. With
Okay.
athletics, hand cycling, I competed at Paralympics. I competed at 8 Paralympics and won medals there.
Well, as you said, you were one of the founders or the founder of RSC Heindl.
One of the
Um,
founders.
Did you heard about power chair soccer football back in that time? Because they were starting somewhere around the world. I think Japan and France.
Oh, yeah.
Around this time, did you heard about the sports back then?
No, no, I didn't hear about that until about 4 or 5 years ago when they started introducing power soccer in Austria.
Mm. I think you are as happy as we all are that it started in Austria. Do you feel a little bit sorry you weren't able to participate actively in the sports?
Well, I guess I'm not. I don't have the kind of disability that makes me eligible. Eligible. Well, that would allow me to play soccer, power soccer.
Hmm.
But I'm a quad, so I played wheelchair rugby.
Yeah, it's
It was
similar. It's similar.
it was
Well,
fun too.
very nice. Well, I would like to thank you, Christoph, at this point. I'm just going to translate it in German a few words. Ich habe den Christoph gefragt, Powerchair Football hat halt um die Zeit, wo der RSC Heinl Oberösterreich gegründet wurde, weltweit waren die Anfangsschritte. Ich glaube, in Japan und Frankreich hat das damals begonnen. Und ob er eben in der Community gehört hat von damals, dass es diesen Sport gibt. Er hat das verneint und eben, dass es erst seit es in Österreich gibt, auch aktiv von dem Sport gehört hat. Und natürlich finde ich das etwas schade, dass er nicht aktiv mitgespielt hat, aber er hat Rollstuhl-Rugby gespielt und das kommt ja bis irgendwohin nah an unseren Fußballsport. Danke noch einmal an dich, Christoph. Thank you very much for your time. And we're going to see
You're
each other,
welcome.
definitely. Thank you. Danke. Well, our next guest is Markus Fritsch. He's also from Linz, from Upper Austria. From Upper Austria. As I said, he is active player. He is the department leader for powerchair football in RSC Heindl. The club is called the Steel Chairs from Linz. Well, I know Markus personally from all tournaments. We had a lot of talks, a lot of contacts throughout the sport, isn't it, Markus? And I'm gonna give you the stage to present your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me tonight. I wanted to present our Power Soccer Football Club, which is called, like you said, CGS. We started in the year 2016 with two young ladies which were interested in playing power soccer. The first players were Manila Mountain and Colin Holtzman. These two young, wonderful ladies built up this whole power soccer club by their own hands. They put very much power and effort in gaining the confidence of the
Marcus, I'm sorry, just a second. I've got a message that the audience cannot hear you in the Facebook Live, but I can hear you, and I'm not sure what we can do about it.
No, I start again. Should I start again?
Okay, I'm just gonna, Marcus, give me a few seconds. I'm just gonna translate and sum up what you said before. Marcus said that the club was started in 2016 by those two ladies you see there, Manuela Mautner and Karin Holzmann. Well, this sport in Austria, as we already mentioned, started up around 2014-15. It is a relatively young sport, and I personally, I am very glad, and I was able to participate in those founding steps, as I call them, and I was very happy that Manuela and Karin were able to found the Steel Chair Slints, and although they had a few difficulties throughout the year, they still do it, and they're gonna do it as they promised me in the future. Okay, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. You said with some problems. The point is the structure of Austria is divided in 9 different provinces, and the main problem is our personal assistant structure, which is needed for playing power soccer, is very problematic, especially in Upper Austria. So the foundation of playing power soccer to get to the training, to train, to play, to have some activities outside their own apartment is a very big obstacle. So at first we started to set up some structure to provide our players with the needed help so they can come to the training. And in the beginning, it was a very big movement. So when you turn to the next slide, please.
The next folia, the next slide, please, Maria. Thank you.
So we were growing very fast and very big. So the training facility was too small. So we tried to divide the team into 2 groups. Next slide, please.
Just a second. I'm gonna sum that up, Marcus, in English and in German. Well, Marcus was talking about that as all the players, they want to participate in tournaments, to participate in the league actively. And as I mentioned, they had a few problems, and Upper Austria is the second largest region in Austria, and due to the fact that the players have to come from different areas, from different cities to the training, it was kind of pretty hard logistically to manage that. And as they were started the club, and throughout the past, they wanted to provide a certain structure and to provide the possibility for the players to play. Ganz kurz noch auf Deutsch mache ich das auch noch. Markus hat angesprochen eben die logistische Herausforderung, die sich Ihnen gestellt hat bei RSC Heindl, weil eben Oberösterreich ein recht großes Bundesland ist und es organisatorisch eben herausfordernd war, verschiedene Spielerinnen und Spieler an einen Ort für ein regelmäßiges Training zu organisieren, weil eben verschiedene Systeme da sind, weil es logistisch eben sehr herausfordernd ist. Und die Idee ist halt eben, dass man den Spielerinnen und Spielern so viel Spielmöglichkeit wie möglich bietet. Thank you, Marcus. You can now go ahead.
Next slide, please.
Next, yeah, thank you.
As I mentioned before, in the beginning, we started to grow very, very fast. So after 18 months roundabout, we had 12 players, and we had the opportunity to split them up into teams, as we all have been very young to this sport, to team sport. We made several big mistakes. One of the biggest mistakes was to split the team up in good ones and not so good ones. So we created a team A and a team B. So we thought that we can treat every player the same, and we can try to exceed the limits, to try to make them stronger. But it was quite the opposite, because the players from the team B were very sorry and felt like being pushed back, and it wasn't our intention, but it was a big mistake. We couldn't reverse. So many of the players started to quit training, to stop participating, and after all, we were shrunk to 4 players, because any other player left the group on. And the next point, from the founding ladies, we have some obstacles. That one of the player was chased, and the second player had some emotion difficulties. So it looks like the whole team is starting to fall apart, and this was about, let's say, 12 months in the past from now, and from this point, we 3 of us stood together and tried to build up the whole team, and in this process, we just went in to build the thing up together with new ideas, with new foundations, and let's keep hoping and cross that we can do a better job this time.
Well, sure, Marcus. I mean, it's definitely logical that there is some frustration when you shrink from like 12 players to 4, where you have 2 teams, and then you don't even have one team, like you don't have no players to substitute. Just to sum up that, I'm not really sure if they can if they can understand you. I'm just gonna sum that up. Well, the problem is that they were very fast growing in Linz, and after 18 months, you can see it on the slides. There are 12 players and two teams, and there were some mistakes. There was some miscommunication. I'm not really so much into detail, but unfortunately, after a time, they were just they shrunk to 4 players. I was able to see this frustration, to see this, that there were tournaments where the Linzer teams didn't fit in the coaching zone. Me as a referee had to ask the coaches and the players to make a little bit more room to, there were just so much players on the tournaments, and 2 years after, or 1.5 year after, they shrunk to that, where they have had to borrow players from other teams, and it was very sad to see. But Marcus, from my point of view, you are on a very good way. So just stay on this path, and you're gonna make it again.
Thank you.
Yeah. The next slide, please.
Yeah. So like I said before, we started this October with a new team, new player, with a new coach, and we are trying to get up to speed as quick as possible, and to start something new and try to avoid the mistakes of the past. And yeah, let's see what we can get.
Yeah, as I said, you're on a good way. Those are the 4 players you can see on them. Currently, I'm very optimistic that this is going to change. You're going to grow in the future. You have a new coach. You have a very young player in the team who can I describe as an upcoming star, rising star. And yeah, it's going to be all right, Markus. Just for our German spectators, wir haben ganz kurz gesprochen eben über die Problematik, die sich in dem Linzer Verein geeignet hat, wo man innerhalb von 1,5 oder 2 Jahren von 12 Spielern, von 2 Vereinen auf 4 Spieler geschrumpft ist. Ich habe einfach nur gesagt, war sehr viel Frustration dahinter bei den Spielerinnen und Spielern, eben auch aufgrund der Tatsache, dass es unregelmäßige Trainings und dass man das organisieren kann. Aber Linz ist auf einem guten Weg und ich bin da sehr optimistisch. Is it there? Well, we're gonna do it in 1 or 2 minutes. Markus, the last slide, if it is okay with you.
Yeah.
Ja, die letzte Folie bitte.
Thank you. So the last slide shows an event in which we were very big as a team, and we are trying to get back in this situation as soon as possible. And yeah, we try to follow some beliefs like unity, friendship, believing in yourself. So we try to forget the past, look into the future, and thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, well, that's what this sport is all about. I think the core beliefs are not just in your club. It is the whole Power Chair Soccer community. Unity, friendship, and the belief in yourself are just very important parts in the sports and in life, in private life as well. Markus, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for this great presentation. We gonna, yeah, I think, okay. Well, again, thank you, Markus. I think we're gonna jump to our next guest is Tony Jackson from the United States, and especially this from the Phoenix Rising, Clubs Phoenix Rising. Thank you, Tony, for being with us.
No problem. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Guten Tag. Good day, everybody. Thank you for asking me to be here today. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Can we just give? Yeah, the presentation is coming. I'm just gonna give you the stage, and I'm every 1 or 2 slides. I'm gonna just interrupt you for a few seconds to translate it and ask a few questions.
Certainly. Okay, so I'll start actually before we get started with my club. I'll give you a brief history of the United States Power Soccer Association for those of
Well,
you.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
Tony. I didn't
you
introduce
wanna?
you. I'm so sorry. Well, Tony is I was able to meet him personally
Oh,
at in Norway. I think it was in Norway,
Finland.
was it, or in
Fin-
Denmark? Oh,
yeah,
Finland, Finland.
yeah,
I'm
mhm.
sorry. Very nice guy. You are manager, coach, player. Like it is very common in Portugal football, where all these jobs are like centralized in one or maybe two persons. Very interesting guy. Speaks German as well, as he introduced himself. And I'm gonna give you the stage. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Yeah, certainly. Um, again, thank you for having me today. Before I get started with my team, I just want to give everybody a brief history on the U.S. Power Soccer Association. For those of you that don't know, um, it all started um, in 2006 after the 2005 conference in Portugal, where many countries got together to unify the rules of the game. And so 2006, the United States Power Soccer Association was founded, and since then, we have grown to over 60 teams around the United States. And there are currently 4 divisions in United States Power Soccer. There's the top division, which is the Premier Conference, and then Champions Conference, President's Conference, and then the Founders Conference, which is the bottom one. And so there's relegation and promotion in between the conferences, and we meet every year for a national tournament to determine who is the winner of those conferences. And the top 2 teams from each conference get promoted, and the bottom 2 teams get moved down to the conference below. Super brief history on United States Power Soccer. I missed a lot of detail. So,
Well, thank you for this. I'm just going to translate it into German.
mhm.
Toni hat davon erzählt, dass 2006 der Sportverband bzw. der Electoral Fußball Power Soccer Fußballverband in den USA gegründet wurde nach der Konferenz 2005 in Südamerika, glaube ich, war das. Seitdem sind sie auf über 60 Teams gewachsen. Es gibt 4 Ligen. Und es schaut so aus, dass jede Saison 2 Teams jeweils auf- und absteigen in die nächste Liga beziehungsweise in die Liga darunter. Sehr schnelle Vorstellung. Toni meint, dass er sehr viele Details ausgelassen hat. Ich finde, war sehr toll für die kurze Zeit. Thank you, Toni.
No problem. So my team is Phoenix Rising Power Soccer. This is the Ability 360 Sports and Fitness Center in Phoenix, Arizona. It is a fully handicap accessible fitness center. This is actually where I work. This is my job during the day. I work here, and I work at the reception desk when there's no pandemic.
Mm.
And so, yeah, this is where we train. This is where we practice. This is where I work. Yeah,
Very nice. It looks like a space shuttle, man. I mean,
it's
that's
beautiful.
wow. How when did you guys build it? How old is this?
So, 2011, this opened. I started working there in 2011, right when it opened. And then I moved. I won't get into my personal history too much, but I moved away after a year and a half to go work at Power Soccer Shop.
Mhm.
And then I went off and took another job in the Northeast of the United States to be a coach and a player
Mhm.
there. And then I came back here in January 2019.
Mhm. Well, based on a few, I can understand why you came back. I'm just gonna translate it to my fellow German-speaking colleagues. Das, meine lieben Kollegen, ist die Halle, wo die Kollegen aus Phoenix Rising spielen. Es ist ein Fitnesscenter und ein Sportcenter. Toni, unser Kollege, arbeitet hier an der Rezeption, wenn alles okay läuft, jetzt in der Pandemiezeit nicht. Wow, von meiner Seite. Einfach
Ja,
nur wow.
ist
Ja.
ein Fitnesscenter von für Behinderten.
Okay, okay,
Mhm,
very nice. Thank you, Tony.
mhm. So I started working there in 2011, and I started playing power soccer in 2009, and I was playing in another program at the time, but I wanted to teach our members at the fitness center about the sport. And so in April 2012, I started offering a class where I taught people the basics about the sport. And by November of that year, we had enough people coming every week to play practice games. And so it grew from there. Um,
Mhm.
yeah.
Ja, auch ganz kurz, Toni hat 2009 als Spieler begonnen zu spielen, wenn ich das noch richtig in Erinnerung habe. Er hat 2012 auch begonnen, aktiv, um eben die Sportart etwas bekannter zu machen, hat er angefangen, Trainings zu organisieren. Und durch die Zeit ist halt eben die Nachfrage so groß geworden, dass immer mehr und mehr Spielerinnen und Spieler und Zuschauer nämlich auch stark angekommen sind. Und seit 2012 waren dann eben so viele Spieler da, dass sie auch Spiele spielen konnten. Tony, there is already a question for you.
Hmm.
Who is your biggest rival? Or do you have any rivalry stories to tell?
We do. So our biggest rival is another program. So I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and there is another program here in Phoenix in the metropolitan area. And so they are naturally our rival. We play each other several times a season. It's been pretty close, the matches. I used to actually play with a lot of them on various other teams.
Mhm,
They used to be my teammates. A couple of them actually were my teammates when I played in Minnesota when I worked at Power Soccer Shop. But they
mhm.
all live here now, and so we play against each other quite often.
Well, it's something between a rivalry and friendship, isn't it?
Certainly.
Yeah,
On
yeah,
the pitch, it's a rivalry, and off the pitch, it's a friendship. So yeah.
yeah. That's what football is all about. The, yeah. Well, just go ahead. The question I'm gonna ask after a few
Okay, sure.
slides. Yeah.
Okay. So okay, next slide, please. And so there were so many people in my program that we started a team. We registered with the United States Power Soccer Association. We called it the Spofit Spark. It wasn't the greatest name, but it's okay. I came up with it. I take full responsibility for that name. And we played our first matches in March of 2013. Here is one of our first games against one of the best teams in the country, RHI Sudden Impact, with Jordan and Katie Dickey at the time.
Mhm,
They I think they were here. I don't, maybe they were already in Arizona. Anyway, this was our first one of our first matches. Um, and we were strictly recreational at the time, but it was great for these players to start in a class learning about the game to being able to play in a competition.
mhm. Tony, I'm not sure if I got it right. Paul Fitzpark, is this kind of a club or is it like a sub association?
No, this was, so the Spofit Spark was the name of the team. So all of the students that were in my class, we
Oh,
we we registered finally as a United States Power Soccer team, and
okay, got it.
this was the original name of the team that I play for now.
Okay, got it. Mhm. The question I wanted to ask you is, in this venue you presented us where you work, are there
Hmm.
any other sports for wheelchair in the center?
Certainly. Certainly. We have rugby, we have wheelchair basketball. We
Mhm,
just started offering wheelchair tennis. One of our new staff members is a Paralympic tennis player.
mhm.
And we do, oh, God, we started doing American wheelchair football. With
Wow.
so we just started offering that as well. Let's see, we do wheelchair softball. We
Mhm,
have we do wheelchair lacrosse, even though that program is not very active at the moment, but it is something
mhm.
that we do offer. Wow, there's other sports out there. I can't remember them right now. My boss was
Well, I
thinking.
think that sounds like a lot. The question was if there was played wheelchair rugby, and you said American football.
Hmm.
Well, definitely it's gonna be American football. What I wonder is how do you manage the contact with the wheelchairs? Because
Y-
American football is a very tough sport.
It is. So actually, I don't know. This is the first season. So before the coronavirus, we were supposed to start our very first season with 6 other cities across the country. But
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet, so I don't actually know what it looks like. But once we're able to start playing again, I'll let you know.
Well, it sure does sound very interesting. I'm just gonna translate it in a few words.
Hmm.
Tony hat eben den Sportfits Park Power Soccer Fußballclub gegründet, eben aufgebaut auf diesen Trainings, die er organisiert hat, wo immer mehr und mehr Spieler gekommen sind, hat er eben diesen Fußballclub gegründet, der sich dann im März 2013 in den Fußballverband eingegliedert hat, in den Power Football Verband eingegliedert hat. Auf die Frage, die gestellt wurde, ob eben in dem Center auch andere Sportarten ausgeübt werden, ja, und zwar sehr viele. Es gibt Softball, Lacrosse, American Football und seit neuestem, glaube ich, auch arbeitet oder trainiert dort eine Paralympic Tennisspielerin oder
Hmm.
Spieler. Ja,
Spielerin. Hmm.
Spielerin. Ja, very nice.
Okay, next slide, please.
Mhm.
Okay, so I left in June of 2013 to go work at Power Soccer Shop.
Mhm.
So I moved to Minnesota in June 2013, but other people at the center continued to manage and train the players in the program. And so in 2015, the parent organization changed its name to Ability 360. And when they did that, they renamed the team Ability 360 United. And this is their first pictures from their first season as that team.
Mhm. Well, definitely a better name than yours, Tony.
Yes, yes,
I
I
have
admit.
to admit.
Yes. I take full responsibility for that horrible name that I picked.
No, it was not that bad. Well, ganz kurz, in 2015 wurde eben, Tony ist 2013 eben, sagen wir, ausgewandert, er ist umgezogen, um einem anderen Job nachzugehen und in der Zwischenzeit wurde eben der von ihm gegründete Verein umbenannt in eben Ability 360 und auf den Folien könnt ihr die Fotos erkennen von den Spielerinnen und Spielern und wie das jetzt aktiv ausschaut.
Hmm. And so by 2016, they had enough players, kind of like a Steel Chair Linz, to split into 2 teams. And so we had Ability 360 United and Ability 360 FC. And they managed to run the program successfully for years with two teams in it. Um,
And since
I
then, you're still two teams? You have
Yeah,
still two teams?
still 2 teams, correct. And so I can't really speak too much about what the program was like while I was gone. I do know that they were a recreational program the whole time,
Mhm.
from 2013 until we'll get to the future or the present time in a moment. But from
Mhm.
2013, it was a recreational program.
Okay. Ähnlich wie bei den Linzern, die wir vorhin erwähnt haben, hat sich auch die Mannschaft in 2016 aufgrund der hohen Nachfrage, aufgrund der hohen Anzahl der Spielerinnen und Spieler in 2 Teams gesplittet, eben Ability 360 United und Ability 360 Football Club or FC. Derweil sind noch beide Clubs aktiv, beide spielen noch. Ja, und
Mhm.
ja, ich hoffe, das
Da-
bleibt auch so in Zukunft. Ja.
Yeah. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, and so in 2000 in the 2018-2019 season, I moved back from another job back to Arizona in January 2019. And so my goal was to make ability at least one of the teams a competition team for the first time in the program history. And so I placed myself on Ability 360 FC, and we registered with United States Power Soccer as a competitive conference team. And when you do that for the first time, you start at the bottom naturally. And so we went to our very first tournament last season, our first national tournament last season.
Mhm. Okay, also seit der Saison 2018-2019 hat Toni eben den zweiten Verein, der gegründet wurde, übernommen und coacht den. Und do you play actively?
Mhm.
Ja,
Mhm.
und ist auch Spieler, aktiv Spieler. Sie haben natürlich in der untersten Liga begonnen, weil man sich eben als neuer Club quasi registriert hat im Verband. Und, well, did you even play a whole season, Tony?
No, not that season because I was training and playing for a different program at the time,
Mhm.
and so there was probably maybe it wasn't very long. I did play a whole season. I started with one team, and then halfway through the season, I transferred to my current team.
Okay, nice. Question from my side.
Yeah.
How is it about the strike forces back in your team? I mean, or
Um,
not strike force. What wheelchairs do you use, or how often do you use strike forces?
so I'm very fortunate at Ability 360 because we have funding through donations and through fundraisers, and so almost every player has their own strike force, and if they don't own the strike force, it belongs to Ability 360.
Okay,
So,
very nice.
yeah, Ability 360 has 8 strike forces in the program, and then
Mhm.
the other players have one that they own themselves.
Okay. Meine Frage ging an Toni, wie die Rollstühle ausschauen, wie häufig eben Strike Forces eingesetzt werden. Es ist eben durch Finanzierungen hat sich der Verein 8 Strike Forces angeschafft und neben dem gibt es auch vereinzelt Spieler, die eigene besitzen. Das führt dazu, dass man eben nahezu ausschließlich in Strike Forces spielt.
Mm-hmm.
Ja.
Yeah. So here is our pictures from the very first national tournament that we were in, and there I am on the left, competing against a friend of mine from Atlanta, Georgia. I think I took the ball away from him and, and went back the other way. And then in the middle is a picture of us after the championship game. We won that, and then on the right is us on the stage getting our medals and our trophies. So yeah, the first time we went to a national competition. We won the tournament, and we will be promoted to the 3rd division next season.
So you didn't play the new division. You were promoted, and then I think COVID came, so you
Mm-hmm,
weren't
correct.
able to play the new season. Okay.
Correct.
Mhm. So, auch ganz kurz auf Deutsch, da sehen wir eben die Bilder vom ersten Turnier, das Ability 360 FC gespielt hat und gleich in ihrem ersten Jahr den Aufstieg geschafft haben in die nächste Saison. Auf dem linken Bild sieht man eben Toni, wie er aktiv spielt und er meint, dass er eben diesen Zweikampf gewonnen hat. Dann sieht man eben die Preisverleihungen da neben den Spieler. Und ja, leider konnten eben die Spieler das Team konnte die neue Saison nicht starten in der höheren Liga, weil eben in der Zwischenzeit die Pandemie und Covid passiert ist. Aber wir hoffen selbstverständlich alle, dass das sehr bald vorbei ist.
Ja, genau.
Mhm.
Okay, and then so Phoenix Rising is a local professional club, and in 2019, Ability 360 and Phoenix Rising formed a partnership, and so Ability 360 Football Club officially changed its name to Phoenix Rising Power Soccer that year, and so we've got kits from Phoenix Rising, and now we compete as Phoenix Rising Power Soccer.
Mhm. You said, did I get it right? Phoenix Rising is a local soccer club or
Yeah,
football club?
it's a professional.
Professional.
Yeah, so if you think about United States soccer, MLS
Mhm.
is the top league in the United States, and the USL United States United Soccer League is the second division below MLS.
Okay,
And
and they
so
play in the USL.
yes, that's correct.
Okay. Mhm. So, auf Deutsch, im November 2019 wurde eben der Verein Ability 360 Football Club durch Zusammenarbeit mit dem Club Phoenix Rising, der ein lokaler Fußballclub ist, ein professioneller Fußballclub. Und da wurde eben die Zusammenarbeit gefordert und dadurch entstand eben der Phoenix Rising Power Soccer FC.
Mm-hmm.
There is a question already. How often do you have training? I mean,
When
not in
we
the
are
pandemic and
Right.
usually.
When we're allowed to train, we train once a week for 3 hours. I actually offer two different trainings.
Mm-hmm.
So for new players who have never played before, I
Mm-hmm.
offer one day for 2 hours.
Okay.
And then my team, the whole program trains once a week for 3 hours. And
Okay.
so yeah, and so we practice every week when we can.
Mm-hmm. So in addition to that, you said for those who are beginners who start, you
Hmm.
have like a introduction training session.
Hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep. So the introduction session is every Tuesday, and then the team training is every Friday.
Okay. So Tony meint, dass der Verein einmal in der Woche trainiert und zwar für 3 Stunden und das ist freitags und es gibt noch eben eine Art Anfängerkurs, ein Anfängertraining und das findet montags, was it Monday?
Dienstags.
Dienstags, Tuesday, also dienstags auch für 3 Stunden statt, was ich
Mhm.
auch super
Zwei
cool
Stunden.
finde.
Zwei
Zwei
Stunden.
Stunden, I'm
Mhm.
sorry.
Yeah. It's okay.
Well, it is a little tricky when somebody understands my German.
Yeah,
Last
that's
week
okay.
it wasn't that complicated with the Brazilians. Yeah, the next
Yeah.
slide. Yeah.
Yeah, please. Okay, and so this is um this is one of the last competitions that this is actually the first no, let me think. This was one of the last ones that we did, sorry. This
Mhm.
was in Houston, Texas in December 2019. Um for the first time as Phoenix Rising, we traveled to another tournament out of state, and we competed against a couple teams from Texas, and we won that tournament too. So, um,
Wow.
yeah,
Was it your second one?
it was our. Yes, that was our second tournament, and then the following month in January of 2020, we had one more tournament that we also won, a local tournament at
Wow.
home. Hmm. So,
What a winning streak. And this is this the venue you played in Texas?
yes, this is a venue in Texas. This is actually a convention hall.
Convention hall.
Yeah, so they open up the floors and they put lines on the floor, and we play on in this giant convention hall. In these pictures to the left is rugby and basketball taking
Mhm.
place. So.
Okay, nice. Ähm, Auf den Bildern könnt ihr eben, das sind Bilder von einem Turnier aus dem Dezember 2019 und zwar in Houston, Texas. Das war das zweite Turnier, an dem sie teilgenommen haben. Auch dieses wurde gewonnen. Unglaublich. Was mich fasziniert eben an den Bildern ist, dass man sieht im Hintergrund, dass es eigentlich eine Messehalle ist, die
Hmm.
eben dafür vorgesehen ist und die wurde umstrukturiert und für Turniere genutzt, was ich auch super, super cool finde.
Hmm.
Ja,
Yeah,
very nice.
it was a lot of fun. We had a good time.
Ja, ja, okay. Was it the last slide?
Yep, that was it.
Well, I have to ask you something from my
Sure.
personal view on this sports. I haven't been able to watch live American sports clubs or the American national teams, but I
Hmm.
heard from my colleagues, from my refereeing colleagues, that the game you play is another one. You have a lot of contact. You have um, yeah, I don't know if the rules are different or just the referees have another view on that. And my question is, how do you feel on international tournaments? I mean, is it very hard for you when you're used to this play and then on tournaments
Hmm.
they are very strict in refereeing contact?
I may get in trouble for saying this with all of my American friends and referees, but I actually prefer. So I've obviously for any of you that don't know, I do announcing for Power Chair Football everywhere. So I've been all over the United States. I've been all over Europe. I've been all over South America. So I've seen the game played all over the world, and I kind of prefer the South American way of officiating. And the only reason I say that, and they're not perfect, don't get me wrong, but
Mhm.
I feel like the American referees, we all follow the same rules to answer your first question. We
Okay.
all follow the rules of FIFA, but the interpretation of the rules in the United States is very relaxed, and there is a lot of contact. And
Mm.
I feel as somebody who has seen the game around the world, I feel like there's too much contact. It's not
Mm.
football, right? It's American football. It's not world football.
Yeah.
to a certain extent. And I may get in trouble for that from some of my friends here in the U.S., but that's okay. I think the English in particular call the game too strict, and could make it a little bit more relaxed. I do like the way they call it overall, but it could be a little more relaxed, especially
Mm,
with the English referees. And the South Americans I find have a good balance of being strict but letting the game flow.
mm,
Even though I think maybe they could call it a little bit more strict, just a little bit, but not much. I
mm,
do like the way they call it overall.
mm. Well, it is very interesting because I had a similar question to Bruno last week from
Hmm.
Brazil, and the South American clubs, or especially the running football game, they are very passionate, very
Hmm.
hard. And now I hear from you that they're not that strict. I mean, they're strict, but you know you know what I
Yes,
mean. It is
yes.
like this difference between Porsche soccer and the running football, which is
Hmm.
very interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I
but
do.
even in Europe, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No,
Even
go ahead.
in Europe, there are differences between England and France. I mean,
Hmm.
you've seen it in Finland, where France wants to play like more contact, and the English ones are because they're used to it. You know,
Right. No,
and
I
I think it's
agree.
very hard. Yeah, go ahead,
I
Tony.
agree. I think I, I I guess to be fair, like I think European officials are generally speaking have a good balance of letting the play happen and enforcing the rules. Um, but I've always said that the English were far too strict with their interpretation of the rules.
Yep. I mean, you have to find a middle side on it. I
Hmm.
mean, it is we all have the same rules, and as you said, there is there. I don't know if you've got already the new judgments
I have
on the
seen it.
rule book.
Hmm.
Yeah, where's literally not there's not gonna be any contact at all. Well, I mean when you play the ball at the front of the gear, there's gonna be, but I'm I'm very interested in how this is gonna be in the future, because there is some, if you do something for a very long time, and you started Pacha soccer football like 15 years ago, and now they're gonna say no, it's not the way you played, like
Hmm.
you have to change your style of play, like for 180 degrees. It's I think it's very hard for you guys.
It's going to be interesting because especially for players who don't have great control, who
Yeah.
lack the finer movements, to be able to play in close contact and not initiate contact on another player. So we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, yeah, we will see. There's also another question from my side.
Hmm.
You were similar to the club from Linz, very fast growing at the beginning. Do you actively look for players, or do they just come to you, or how do you do
I
that?
I actively recruited people because living here for a long time there was only one program, and that's
Mhm,
where all of us who play here now started. And when I started working at Ability 360, I wanted to start another program because I wanted more players.
mhm,
There are over 4 million people who live in the metropolitan area of Phoenix, and there was only one team in that whole place, and so I wanted to start another team. And because the fitness center is for people with disabilities, the people who use power wheelchairs come in every single day, and so I would actively recruit people and ask them to come try it out, and it
mhm,
grew fast. It was intentional. I wanted it to grow quickly.
mhm.
um, I wasn't anticipating starting a competition team right away or even having a team right away, but I'm glad I did. And I'm glad the people who continued the program after I left continued running the program. So when I came back, it was in a good place that I could take it further.
Yeah. Well, I mean, well, obviously you did a great job. I mean, we've seen the pictures, we've seen your history, and winning 3 out of 3 tournaments is a big thing in my
Yeah,
opinion. Yeah.
not bad.
I'm gonna just translate our small discussion to our German speaking colleagues. Meine erste Frage, die ich Toni gestellt habe, war natürlich auch aus Sicht des Schiedsrichters, weil die Spiele aus den USA, ich möchte das nicht verallgemeinern, Amerika, was ich gehört habe, waren halt sehr bekannt für ein hartes Spiel. Ich habe es auch auf der Weltmeisterschaft gesehen, dass es eben da eine starke Diskrepanz, einen starken Unterschied gibt zwischen der Auffassung des Regelwerks. Auch Toni ist der Meinung, dass die Amerikaner etwas zu lasch pfeifen. Er sagt auch, dass eben die Regelauslegung etwas lasch ist und deshalb es zu viel mehr Kontakt kommt, als es sein sollte. Und auch seiner Meinung, die ich auch vertrete, sollte man so wenig Kontakt wie möglich haben im Spiel. Und durch die Regeländerung, die jetzt eben an uns gesendet wurde, wo es also jetzt noch einmal einen kompletten Kontaktverbot gibt, sprich bis auf die Gitter, wird sehr interessant sein in Zukunft, wie sich das entwickelt. Und meine zweite Frage war eben, wie die Spielersuche in den USA stattfindet. Und Toni hat gemeint, dass er aktiv Spieler gesucht hat, aufgrund der Tatsache, dass er eben in diesem riesigen Center arbeitet, wo auch genug Leute in Elektrorollstühlen kommen, konnte er sie auch eben aktiv ansprechen und begeistern für den Fußballsport. Und aufgrund der 3 Siege sieht man, dass das sehr gute Arbeit ist, die er gemacht hat.
Mhm.
Very nice. I think we are almost coming to an end. I would like to remind all of you guys that next week there's going to be our third club talk, and we're going to have guests from Austria again and Spain. And our third participant is not sure because the Germans had some difficulties today, and we have to see if we're gonna fit them next week or the week after that. But for sure, we're gonna inform you guys. We're gonna post it on Facebook, and you will see all the information. Tony, from your side, are there any questions you want to see? You want to ask anything? You want to know anything?
When will coronavirus be over so we can get back to power chair football again? That's all I want to know.
Yeah, unfortunately, I cannot answer that question, but I really hope it's gonna be not that far away.
Same.
Yeah. Tony, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for this interview, for this view on the U.S. sports and the U.S. power chair soccer. Thank you again. Thank you, Marcus, for your time. Thank you for all the viewers, for all the spectators and those who had time to watch us. I hope you liked it. I hope we did a good job. And we're going to see each other next week. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I wish you all the best, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. That was great. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Thank you, Mark.